Good day. My name is Maria Yusuf, a physician assistant and a graduate from Bradford University College, Accra, Ghana, and I will be doing a presentation on miscarriage. It is based on how miscarriage affects mothers and potential mothers in general. I hope you learn a lot from this presentation. According to the World Health Organization, miscarriage is defined as the loss of a fetus up to 23 weeks of gestation, that is from the weeks 23 downwards. This is because miscarriage don't occur in the third trimester. It's rather referred to as a stillbirth, not a miscarriage. Globally, miscarriage has been estimated to occur in 15% of all pregnancy outcomes. This is a picture showing the first sign of miscarriage, which is vaginal bleeding, accompanied by lower abdominal cramps, and as such, women are advised to seek medical intervention or call for a medical assistance. The developmental process of becoming a mother, in the case of a woman who have gone through miscarriage, can have a negative effect on a mother's perception about herself and her emotional health when she gets pregnant again. Losing a pregnancy can affect a woman and her family also. What most people do not know is that men also grieve the loss of a pregnancy. Well, not like women, but they do grieve the loss of a pregnancy. Also, the level of information regarding miscarriage held by the community is quite low and wrong. This is a picture illustrating the stigmatization being placed on miscarriage, where women would rather use initials such as M to represent miscarriages rather than saying it in an open term. You would all agree with me that the level of information held by an individual will determine how a problem is being solved. This brings us to our justification, where educating women as well as men would help eliminate the myths that surround miscarriage. Education is really important in helping a woman through a process of grief in a miscarriage, because when a woman knows a lot about it, it helps her stay calm. The aim of this study was to determine the effects miscarriage had on motherhood, and the specific objectives included to investigate the link between miscarriage and subsequent pregnancies, that is pregnancies afterwards, after a miscarriage has occurred, and to investigate the link between trimester and miscarriage occurred, that is indicating whether it's the first trimester or the second trimester the miscarriage occurred, and the type of treatment received, that is the type of medical treatment received by the individual. And lastly, to investigate the link between maternal age and miscarriage, which is a very important factor in the cause of a miscarriage. The study involved a descriptive study design which followed a cross-sectional pattern, and a conclusion was made from these questionnaires issued to the women in Accra. The sample size was determined using the population proportion formula, which is here, also known as the Fisher's formula too. The estimated sample size was 190 participants. In order to draw a conclusion, a minimum of 24 participants were chosen from 8 municipalities in Accra. It is important to note that these women were gotten from the hospital facilities, not on the street or anywhere else. The study included both married and unmarried women within the childbearing age of 15 to 49 who had experienced a miscarriage, and excluded both married and unmarried women within the childbearing age of same who had not experienced a miscarriage. The data was analyzed using the Microsoft Excel and statistical package for social science version 20. An ethical clearance was sought from the ethical committee at the 37 Military Hospital and the Ghana Health Service, Accra, Ghana. This brings us to the important part of this study, the results. The study, although the initial sample size was estimated to be 190, this study included a total of 223 participants. I was quite surprised because the women who had experienced the miscarriage were quite common than I actually anticipated initially. This is a table showing the distribution of women in the various districts. The variations in the number of miscarriage cases in each district were due to the availability of these women and their willingness to cooperate with the study. because some of these women were still going through the grief phase of miscarriage and really felt uncomfortable to share their experience with people. In order to find out the relationships between the data I collected, a correlation was made and was found to be significant between the following: the age of participants and the number of miscarriages experienced, that is 1 or 2 or more miscarriages. 2, the specific type of treatment and the trimester the miscarriage occurred. And 3, the number of miscarriage, thoughts of miscarriage, and the comfortability of these women to share her experience with people. And lastly, the trimester a miscarriage occurred and emotional trauma, whether or not they had an emotional trauma when they experienced the miscarriage. However, there were no significant correlation observed between the following: the number of miscarriage and emotional trauma, the number of miscarriage, the type of treatment received, and if she had carried a baby full term. In the next slide, I would be explaining why the correlations made were found to be significant. The significant correlation observed in the trimester the miscarriage occurred and the type of medical treatment received indicated that misoprostol, which is a drug, was widely used for the management of miscarriages that happen in the first trimester, that is from the first week of conception to the 12th week. And this is because the side effects of miscarriage increased with the gestational age of more than 12 weeks in these women. So it was safer to use a drug in the management of miscarriages which occurred in the first trimester. Whilst DNT, which is dilation and curettage, was used for the management of miscarriages in the second trimester, that is from weeks 13 to the weeks 27. From the population of women with presumed miscarriages, the prevalence of miscarriage experience increased with the age of these women. A study actually indicated that women in their ages 20 had a 10% chance of getting a miscarriage, which later increased to a 90% chance in women aged 45 and above, which is also related to the works and the findings of Tortora et al., which stated that the increased risk of older women getting a miscarriage was due to the low estrogen, which is a female hormone, in their body, because one of the functions of the estrogen is to maintain the integrity of the womb. So therefore, if there is a decrease in the level of estrogen, it will lead to the expulsion of the gestational sac if these older women get pregnant, and then lead to miscarriage. From the women which we interviewed in the study, a vast majority of them suffered from emotional trauma. Emotional trauma in this context means a constellation of symptoms including miscarriage symptoms, including anger, sadness, low self-esteem, grief, and depression faced in their miscarriage. And it was estimated that over 181 women from this research suffered emotional trauma from the total of 223, which is quite a lot. A woman who had carried a baby full term can actually give birth to another child later after a miscarriage occurs, because most of these women complained that they thought that it was impossible for them to carry a baby full term after they had experienced a miscarriage, like there was something wrong with them. But this study proved that it was wrong. It was just a myth. So women who have been through a miscarriage can have a baby later and carry a baby full term if her reproductive system still functions effectively without complications. Also, the works of Alexandra Siffelin show that a speedy pregnancy after a miscarriage helped the couple through the grief and depression faced in an emotional trauma. In conclusion, the trimester of miscarriage and the type of medical treatment was established in this study. Misoprostol, which is a drug, was widely used for first trimester miscarriages, whilst dilation and curettage, which is a surgical intervention, was widely used for the management of second trimester miscarriages. Maternal age, which is a very important factor, was also involved with women with recurrent pregnancy loss, that is, women who have miscarriages more than 2 or 3 times. and is also related to the works of Jerry and Brian, Hafner, and Anderson. Miscarriage as a threat to motherhood has made women keep their experiences within themselves in order not to be judged by the society and the people around them. This, however, shouldn't be the case. In light of the above findings, the following recommendations are important. 1. Miscarriages should be added in school curricula, discussed in talk shows, and in campaigns, and also presentations like this to enlighten women as well as men regarding issues that have to do with miscarriages. 2. There should be an interactive section in an antenatal care unit where women will talk about their experiences. This way they would become less secretive about it. 3. Women in pursuit of their career should be educated on the risk of delaying childbearing to later ages in their life, and should bear in mind that maternal age is an important factor in the course of a miscarriage, and should prevent it as much as possible not to delay childbearing to later ages in their lives. 4. Physicians should bear in mind that consultation is a crucial part in the managing of miscarriages and should educate their patients on possible causes of miscarriages, rather than just treating the individual and letting them go with their myths in their head. Finally, the link between first pregnancy and an increased risk of getting a miscarriage should be further investigated and established. From this research, it was observed that most of the pregnancy loss which occurred in the women who had their first pregnancy. So it will be really important and nice if someone further investigates the possible cause of that. I have a dream. As the famous Martin Luther King Jr. says, I have a dream. I have a dream where women will boldly speak about their experiences regarding miscarriage and not be judged by the people around them. I have a dream where women and men would educate themselves on possible causes of miscarriages in order not to have myth regarding miscarriages. I have a dream where women will stand up and be bold and say, yes, I have gone through a miscarriage and I am happy because I am okay. And I have a lot of things I have learned from this experience, and not feel bad or have a psychological effect on the miscarriage. These are my references. For questions and inquiries, please forward them to my email address, mariayusuf41@gmail.com. Thank you so much for your time and for your attention.